Namaskar and very good evening to all. In ancient times, Indian universities like Takshila, Nalanda, Vallabhi, Vikramshila hosted thousands of students from India and rest of the world, provided them vibrant, multidisciplinary environment and employ demonstrated the types of great success and large multidisciplinary research and teaching universities could bring. These universities also set the foundation of internationalization of higher education in India by becoming a melting pot of students, faculties, and ideas from different cultures around the world. In the webinar series Education for Life, today's topic is making Indian education global. We have eminent panelists with us. Let me welcome Professor S.S. Mantha, former chairman AICTE, former chancellor KL University. Professor Mantha shares his wisdom and experiences through his YouTube channel with the name Dr. S.S. Mantha Speaks Saturday Wisdom. Today is Saturday. We'll be having double advantage of Saturday Wisdom. Today only he has launched another video on Indian bureaucracy. You can find many videos related to technology, society, skilling, education, quality, blah, blah, blah. We welcome Dr. S.S. Mantha. The another panelist is Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General, Association of Indian Universities, former Additional Secretary UGC. Dr. Mittal has also served as Vice Chancellor of BPS Mahila Vishwavidyalaya Kanpur, first Rural Women University of North India. She is also recipient of President Award in 2017 for digital initiatives in higher education. We welcome you, Dr. Pankaj Mittal.
Thank you.
With a wide network of more than 42,000 colleges, more than 1,000 universities, more than 11,500 standalone institutions, which are supporting 38.5 million students in India, can be an attractive education hub for international students. Coming to Dr. Mantha, your opinion on the changes that are needed in Indian education system to address today's topic.
First of all, like you said, the Indian education system is massive, grown over the time, over a period of time. The ancient education was certainly one of the best in the world at that time. And most of it was probably due to the pedagogies they used within the education, delivery methodologies. And as there is something that I actually was reading through in the mathas of Shankaracharya. They still use a lot of pedagogies, which probably were prevalent at that time. A peek into that will tell you, the different methods that they were using at that time, and they are still being used in the mathas today to get across to people in terms of from the real to unreal, things like that, and the Shravana Vidhi, the Upadesha Vidhi, and things like that, Adhyaropa, Apavada Vidhi. And there are several methods that they were used, and probably because of that, the ancient education was very, very known across the world. The mathematics that they had at that time, or the physics that they had at that time, probably must have been one of the best. Having said all that, the modern education system has several challenges. One of the challenges you already mentioned is about the numbers. We have today almost 1,057, the last count that I had for the number of universities in the country, and maybe about 40,000 institutions, which most of them are affiliated to those universities, about 350 universities are affiliating type and so on. Now, one of the problems here is many of our universities are very small. In fact, the numbers that we have that in some of the universities is as low as 300, 350 and so on. So therefore, they forget about the quality initiatives. They're not even viable. They're not even feasible to run, with the kind of quality expectations that we have. Now, as a comparison, if you look at the Western world and the universities that they have there, not less than 15,000, 20,000 are on the campus. Well, that's the first difference. The second difference is most of the universities across the world have all the disciplines on one single campus, in one single campus. For example, even our older universities, the Jadavpur University or Mumbai University or the Madras University, they all had all the departments on the campus. But over a period of time, they connect with the employment and employability and skills and things like that have changed that equation. And therefore, many of the courses became unviable and they eventually closed down, maybe because there were no students and there was no funding consequently. So they became more universities running a few disciplines. And if you look at the Western world, they have almost all the disciplines are still running on one single campus. And that allows them multidisciplinary research. It allows them interdisciplinary research. So these are some of the challenges which we probably need to sort out within our university systems. The policies that we have, the recent national education policy does talk about, multidisciplinary research and so on. But in order to that to happen in the modern sense, a lot of collaboration must happen. And between universities and the industries, between, the institutions and the universities, the collaboration must happen at different levels, at multiple levels. And then probably the best practices would flow into different institutions and things like that. So that is one way of bringing back some of the best practices back into our institutions. Now, there is one other very important part in this is the connect that we seem to have lost between, our departments, our systems, and so on. So the digital transformation that we, in some way, it has been forced upon us by the COVID pandemic. But then that is the way to move forward, and the digital transformation or the collaboration that can happen on a digital platform is massive. So this collaboration that we are talking about between departments, between institutions, between universities, between industries, between the society and so on, can actually happen on the digital platform. So, taking all these things together, there is a lot of internal energy that has been there, accumulated over a period of time, which is useful in order to grow. And the second point is there is a good synergy between some of the institutions, even today, probably the top 10-15% of the institutions, and the changes must flow from there and then get into the larger system that we have. One final issue that I would want to touch is the research component, which also the policies talk about. And if we would want to make any difference in the global world, it's the research that we have. There are three agencies which we are very serious about: the QS rankings, the Times Higher Education Foundation rankings, and the third is the ARW, academic ranking of world universities. Now, if you look at the common parameters between these three, which are very prevalent in our institutions, is research. If you look at the parameters and the weightages that they give to these issues, you will find that 50% of weightage in all the three is for research. And the best of the institutions are there with the best of the research. Now, the best of the institution that we have, Indian Institute of Science, probably figures somewhere around 250, 300 band. The rest of the people in whatever ranking you talk about is way, later than that, maybe into 500, 600 and beyond. So if we want to make a mark in the global world, collaboration is must, research is must, and research of a different kind. A lot of money needs to come into research. A lot of infrastructure needs to be developed for that to happen. And then the research must connect the society, it must connect the industry, and so on. So therefore, there are many other ways of looking at research. Maybe over the next hour or so, I'll come out with maybe a little more on how the research paradigm can improve the systems in a global sense. Thank you. You are muted, Professor Puneet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Mantha. Well explained the necessity of number of students and number of disciplines or courses which are needed in any university system or make it accepted as a global university. And the collaboration, need of necessity of collaboration between the universities as well as with the industry to evolve a system, a robust system for good research culture, which can connect the society as well as the industry. So coming to the next question will be on the role of regulator to develop such a system. Before that, I'm coming to Dr. Pankaj Mittal. Your take on the what changes are needed in education system to address today's topic.
Okay, thank you, Professor Puneet. As you mentioned, during Nalanda and Takshila time, we used to have a lot of international students, and India was known as a Vishwaguru at that point of time. I do remember that what I have read is that in Takshila, in 7th century AD, something like 2,000 teachers and 10,000 students were there. And these students came not only from the neighboring countries like it happens today, but they used to come from China, Indonesia, Korea, Japan, Persia, Turkey, and to study all kinds of subjects. So, but today the situation is that India has something like 48 to 49,000 students every year. That too, majority is from Nepal, followed by Afghanistan, Bangladesh, some from Africa, that's all. And from developed countries, students are not coming to India. And the number of students which are going out of India is around 8 to 10 lakhs every year. This year itself, more than 2 lakhs have gone to USA. The only, I mean, in one country itself, only more than 2 lakh students have gone. So, and these 8 to 10 lakh students, they are spending the money, I mean, the amount of money which they spend in these foreign countries is equal to the entire education budget of India. So that is the problem, that we are not able to attract many students, but many students are going abroad for the need of quality education. Now, the national education policy did recognize this fact. They did take into account that this is the outflow and the inflow of the students and how to reverse the situation. So therefore, they recommended many things. For example, establishment of foreign university campuses in India. This was pending for a very long time, something like 15-20 years. There was a bill in the parliament. It couldn't come through about operation and working of foreign universities in India. But then the national policy has now recommended, and the UGC is coming out with an enabling regulation to attract foreign campuses in India. So that will, at least in my opinion, will help the Indian students to take foreign education if they wish to take so on the Indian soil. So a lot of money will be spent at least on the living expenses, traveling expenses, and our money will not be going out. The one is that. And second is that we are trying to improve our education a lot, because initially there were no universities in say, world university ranking, but slowly, I know that there are none in top 100, but in 200 there are 3, in 500 there are 9. So slowly we are coming into the world ranking. And the UGC came out with a scheme called Institutions of Eminence, in which 10 private and 10 government universities were selected, so that these universities were given higher funding and higher autonomy also, so that they can come up to the level of world level or maybe top 100 universities. So when the students take admission in any university globally or world over, so they first thing they see is the ranking of the university. If the ranking is not good, they don't want to come to that university. Therefore, if our ranking improves, the students will themselves come to the Indian universities. And minded that India is a destination for affordable quality education. If you see the education in UK, USA, it's not affordable, it's very, very costly. But India will be a destination for affordable quality education, provided we are able to improve our infrastructure, we are able to ease out the visa regulations, similarly the matching of the academic calendar, multiple entry exit, multidisciplinarity, which Dr. Mantha was talking about. Like this, many issues and many recommendations are there in the national education policy. And in times to come, I'm sure that India will become an affordable quality destination for higher education, and we'll see more and more students to India. And we already have schemes like Study in India. The Gujarat government has established a gift city, and in gift city there is no regulation will apply, no UGC regulation will apply. So in fintech area, if you want to establish a university, you can come to the gift city, and even the repatriation of money is allowed in the gift city, which was earlier thought of that it will not be there. I don't know what will come. UGC regulations in general for establishment of foreign universities, because it has yet to see the light of the day. But in the gift city, it has already indicated that repatriation of money can be there, no conditions attached, so no frills attached, so the universities can come and establish their campuses in India. That is something very big which has happened. Similarly, Study in India program we are running, there are ICCR fellowships, there are many fellowships to attract foreign students to India.
Thank you, Dr. Pankaj. You mentioned about affordable quality education. We will rediscuss it, and as well as Study in India program also. And there will be a separate question on the ranking part. So as of now, important takeaway is affordable quality education. So coming to Dr. Mantha, you have been a regulator, you have channelized a whole AICT system, introduced transparency, accountability, and quickness. And for that, you have been recognized as an award to bring e-governance in the education system. As a regulator, what necessary or favorable changes are needed in terms of regulation to enable mobility of international universities in India? That is first part. Second part, in what way curriculum can be redesigned to allow to have international exchange or exposure program during the course or during the completion of the program? And necessarily, the third part is, in what way international universities, rather than establishing a whole big campus, omni campus can be established where part of the course can be studied here and then remaining part can be learned there in the parent university. Over to Dr. Mantha.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I believe regulators today are much more enabling and much more facilitating than they were in the past. So to that extent, the regulatory systems have been changing to look at the changes that have been happening in the world outside. Now that necessarily, when we talk about this, we necessarily have to also look at the changes that are happening within the industry sector. And the changes in curriculum that you talked about has a very great bearing to that. First of all, like Dr. Pankaj said, there are a lot of enabling regulations being looked at in terms of setting in terms of inviting the foreign universities to set base in the country. So one of the one of the requirements, I mean, some years back, Georgia Tech was supposed to set up a campus in Navi Mumbai in Maharashtra. And there were a few technical issues. There were issues concerned with finances and things like that. But I suppose these are being addressed at this point of time. And I hope those changes will come about within the regulatory space. The whole purpose of a regulator, if there is a view that the education will be better off by inviting best practices and better teaching pedagogies and better university systems into the country, then that must be allowed, and therefore the enabling regulatory mechanism must be worked out by the regulator. And I believe the regulators are on that page as well. Now, as far as the curriculum is concerned, I said it necessarily has to connect to the industry today. There is nothing like a mechanical engineering job. There is nothing like an electrical engineering job in today's world. Everything is multidisciplinary, is spreads over every single technology that's available in the market today. And if you look at Industry 4.0, major technologies that are reshaping the entire industry working is cloud computing, is blockchain, is AI, ML, things like that. So therefore, somewhere the curriculum must really look at this aspect. And if there are certain restrictions on the curriculum, I mean, you cannot include everything in a curriculum. You can't make probably a mechanical engineering curriculum look like a computer science curriculum just because there are some jobs out there. The domain expertise must be preserved, and these add-ons and value additions must be built around the curriculum so that they mean much more in terms of employability and employment skills and so on. And it's not only that curriculum, the part of that curriculum which is important. I mean, micro-credentials is something that people are talking about today. The courses which have fractional credits, of half a credit, 1 credit, those kind of courses must be added on seamlessly within the curriculum so that the value addition from a student's perspective in terms of connecting with the industry happens. Now, why I'm referring to this is because without this, there won't be any collaboration possible with possibly a university in the West. If I look at a collaboration with Penn State or Georgia Tech or Rutgers, then I need to create some synergy between these two curriculums that they have and the curriculum that we have, and exchange the best practice, not only exchange the best practices, exchange the better faculty who can deal with these subjects and so on. So the purpose of a change in curriculum must look at the global practices, how the industry is changing, and connect the curriculum to the industry in terms of the building employability skills. Now, a lot of collaboration is already happening with some of the institutions, some of the universities, and so on. If you look at, again, the ranking, I mean, I go back to that because these are very important factors for collaborations to happen. If you look at that, the weightage they give to, the interdepartmental research, the multidisciplinary research is extremely high. And unless our institutions can participate meaningfully, I mean, there are good researchers, there is good amount of research happening here, but then somehow they do not connect to real world problems or society connected problems, industry connected problems, and so on. And that's a big difference between the Western world and our universities. So unless those kind of collaborations happen, it becomes difficult for them to come down here. But yes, it's probably they in the initial times they will not probably come up and set up a Penn State University in India, or probably a Rutgers in India. or a Georgia Tech in India, or an MIT in India. But what might happen is they will probably look at setting up off-campus centers, and the joint programs and dual degrees, and these are all the regulatory within the regulatory domain, and they're already working on that, and those things are more or less workable today. So therefore, the twinning programs always existed. Doing a part of the period here and a part of the time in the other university and so on. So probably people will have to relook at one more dimension where the degrees, of a twinning program offered in India, or a joint degree program offered in India, where a large part of the teaching learning process done outside. So probably those things will have to be addressed, but that probably is work in progress. I believe things will improve in terms of attracting foreign institutions on the campus. But before that, attracting foreign faculty on the campus, attracting foreign students on the campus is much more important. It's not that people, it's not enough if a foreign, if a good professor from let's say MIT comes in here and teaches for 1 week's time. That's not enough. The ranking agencies also look at a minimum period of 3 months in order that qualifies to be a part of that ranking mechanism. So therefore, it means that they have to take at least one course of in a semester of 3 months, 4 months, and so on, and stay on the Indian campus in the Indian universities and so on. Similarly, attracting students or faculty, they'll come to our institutions, our universities, if there is a value proposition for them. If the teachers can get appropriate, collaboration with a research organization in India, probably they will feel, excited enough to come here. The other point to look at would be the kind of money they would make here. So either it is the money or the professional, qualifications that they can improve. So without both of them being offered here, it's just not going to work here. Similarly, with the students also would look at, like Dr. Pankaj said, they will always look at the kind of ranking the university has, the kind of importance the institution has. Because a degree from here, from such an institution, would be with him for his lifetime, and therefore he would, if a student from US has to come here and study here, he probably would look at a value proposition that he would probably get. Either the institution has to be good, or he gets a very good internship here, or he gets to do research with some of the best of the industries, the multinationals that we have within India in an Indian ecosystem, and so on. Or maybe for the sheer value of the cultural, milieu that we provide. So unless these things are taken together and the policies designed, probably things will continue to be what they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mantha. So faculty is the core to attract students, because institutions are known by the faculty. The contribution made by an individual faculty bring laurels to the institution, and simultaneously the knowledge, wisdom, teaching, trainings, whatever is being imparted to the student through faculty creates value addition for education industry. So well explained, Dr. Mantha. Coming to Dr. Mittal. Study in India program is helping a lot. Government of India has created this single click platform for the purpose of application and to get the details, authentic details of each and every institution. So as told by you that so far from neighboring countries, we are able to attract students. So there are several courses like Ayurveda, yoga, which are USP of Indian education system, or social system rather, I'll say. So in what way we can bring these courses on a bigger platform so that we can attract students, because there are so many people, those who are offering short-term courses for in USA when it comes to yoga and Ayurveda. So your take on that.
Thank you, Professor Puneet. I feel that we do have many niche areas where we have the edge. Like you have mentioned, yoga, Ayurveda, Indian knowledge system, Indian culture, Sanskrit. So much of knowledge is there in our Vedas, Upanishads, but it is in Sanskrit or Prakrit or Pali, and many foreign scholars are wanting to read it. So we have to do a brand building. We have to do the marketing of what we have. We need not go into the areas where the others are very good, but the areas where we are very good, that we should sort of promote in a big way. And that is what is required, that when we go to education fairs abroad, or when we take our universities abroad to showcase that what we have, we should showcase that what we really have, which none of the people in the world know have, or they know. For example, 21st of June, when it was made an International Yoga Day, the whole world recognized the importance of yoga, which was the contribution of India to the world. So that was because the Prime Minister, or the Honorable Prime Minister of India, he promoted yoga in such a way that International Yoga Day was celebrated by the whole world. Similarly, we have to promote our Ayurveda, we have to promote our Indian knowledge systems, we have to promote our traditional knowledge, our culture. We have to promote all this in a big way by brand building. Now that we are the host for the G20 summit also, and we from AIU, we have proposed to the government to have a U20 also, universities 20. When the universities from G20 countries come to India, interact with our universities, visit some of the best universities and say what India is actually, because how India is projected outside and how India is really, these are two different things. So we want the different universities to come to India, and when they come to India, then they say India is different from what we thought it is. So we have to showcase India. So showcasing India, we are a bit bad, because when the ranking comes, and Professor Mantha was talking about a lot of importance being given to research, but a lot of importance is also being given to the reputation of a building, reputation of the university, which is ensured from the academicians and the employers. And when it comes to reputation, our universities again are back, because we don't do, many of the universities don't even have social media handles. They don't promote what they are doing. So whatever good things they are doing, that lies within the university, so world doesn't know about it. So we have to promote it in a big way. Marketing, maybe it's a bad word, but it has to be done. Otherwise, no one will know that what we are, and our contributions and whatever are the best universities or best inside the universities, that no one will know. So that is very, very important.
Professor Puneet,
Sir.
just to add on to what Dr. Pankaj said, if you look at, if you happen to see University of Munich in Germany, they have a section separate where all the most of the Vedas and Vedangas and Upanishads and they have all been translated to German, and they are there now. What we must do is, in India, maybe translate them to local languages and look at, if they can do it in German, what prevents us from doing it in our local languages, making that knowledge available to people. So this is something that we need to really look at.
He's right. Many of our Veda, the knowledge which is hidden in our Vedas, nobody knows, because they are not able to read those languages, and they're not able to decipher what is there. So we do need translations in different languages. Many are in many different languages. There's very few people in India now.
The stories of Panchtantra are full of wisdom, but
yes,
unfortunately, that less text is available. So that should be made available right from schooling days, initial days of schooling.
Yes.
So such kind of cultural changes are required, so that,
and even the curriculum has to be embedded with, say, Panchtantra stories you are talking about. So in the school level, Panchtantra stories should be there. Slowly they are going away, and all Western things are coming in. So we have to ensure that the culture, Indian culture is taught to our students, so that we are failing somehow. So therefore, a big Indian narrative, I mean, we need a grand Indian narrative, which our students should be knowing. If we ask any student, what are you proud of being an Indian? Most of them will have a contempt for being an Indian. And some, if they are proud of, they'll say maybe cricket or Bollywood. That's all.
That's it.
Because they don't know about their cultural heritage. They don't know what they should be proud of. We are not teaching them what they should be proud of. So it's very important that we teach our students that, yes, you are born in a great country and this is the rich cultural heritage we have, and this is what you should be proud of.
Here, would like to share that perception is everything. Whatever we are doing in terms of good quality, it should be known to the rest of the world. And well said that Bollywood and cricket, only two things are happening in India. This is what people, rest of the world is thinking.
Yes.
That is not.
And even our youngsters feel that way. So we
I tell
have
you
to
my
change.
personal experience. I was suffering from respiratory problem, dust allergy especially, and temperature difference allergy. So more than 20 years, I was consuming different medicines, but it was not working. It was just immediate and temporary relief. So I just learned Jalneti and Sutraneti. So it cost me just 50 rupees and just 1 week. And it is vanished. I repeat,
Oh.
it is vanished. Just 50 rupees and 7 days training program I attended because I was unable to find out any solution. So such powerful techniques and tools are there which are so low cost, so easy to practice and do. And so Indian medicine, the way we consume herbs in our through food, they are addressing to various ailments of our body. So I think that should be documented and
that was seen when during COVID, whole world was taking Kada.
Yes. So coming back to the point, so far Canada, USA, Australia and UK, 4 destinations are popular destinations are there to attract international students. So, adding India to the list. So I mentioned that the courses which can be initiated at international level, which are related to Indian knowledge system as well as medical sciences, especially Ayurveda and naturopathy. Right. So what other aspects are there in terms of, improving the quality ranking, world university rankings? Those existing universities should initiate apart from research.
So,
No, I mean, please. I mean, apart from research, there are a whole lot of parameters. I mean, there is academic reputation, the kind of faculty you have, the employer reputation, how the employers look at a university, at an institution, the kind of faculty student ratios that we have. Many institutions, it's very abysmal, very, very 1:30, 1:40 kind of ratios are there. Many vacancies are there, and so on. And as far as when we talk about faculty, it's actually the again, I mean, you said apart from research, but you can't separate out a faculty from research. So in terms of the citations, for faculty, those kind of things are very, very important. I mean, citations, international outlook, if you have 10 good faculty, then obviously the institutional citation index also goes high. So that is how the reputation is built. And the international outlook also comes from the kind of faculty that you really have in the institution, what kind of collaborations they have with the universities, institutions outside the outside the country, and so on. And there's one other factor that's very important, is which differentiates our institutions, our universities, is actually the income that the institutions get from the consultancy work that they do with the industry. Now, this is one of a very important parameter in the any ranking agency that you apply to. So it shows the connect between the institution and the industry, the value that they bring to the university, and faculty of the institution or the university, the value that they take to the industry. So that will the amount of money that you generate through that consult is not testing. I'm not talking of testing. I'm talking of hardcore consultancy in solving the industry related problems, or improving processes, improving products, or creating new products, creating patents that can be substantiated later, and so on. So these are some of the things which will differentiate the institutions. Of course, the teaching learning pedagogies, they're all there. The kind of methodologies that you use to whether the problem-based studies, the project-based learning, and there are a lot of things which are happening today. So they differentiate the teaching learning process, but ultimately it's the faculty who would probably raise the reputation or bring it down of an institution or university. Thank you.
So just to add to what Dr. Mantha said, he has spoken about mostly very big things which should be there. I'll talk of very small things which should be there. For example, the ambience, the ecosystem within the university, how our students are treating the foreign students, how they are talking to them, how they liaison with them, how good is the hygiene and cleanliness in the universities. If the toilets are not very good, obviously the foreign students feel very bad. If the hostels are not very good, they don't feel good. Even the food which they get, we cannot be telling them to keep on eating Indian food and a spicy food. After some time, they upset their stomach and go back. So we have to make sure that the food they get, the ecosystem they get in the universities, the hygiene, the cleanliness, the hostels, the technology, and above all, which even the National Education Policy has also recognized, is the International Students Office. I have seen many universities who don't even have International Students Office. So international students, if they get admitted in the university, they run from pillar to post to solve their grievances. So that is very important. And then again, one more thing, I think most of the students from our country are going to US, UK, Australia, Canada, because whatever money they are spending on their education in these countries, they are able to earn it back through the job visa which they get after they finish their studies. In India, we are not even allowing that. So the students who are coming to India, we are saying that, okay, you complete your studies and go back. You cannot be working in India. Why can't we allow 1 or 2 years of job? We will say that because our students don't get job, how can we allow foreigners to get the job? But without that, foreign students may not come. Without that, even Indian students may not go to USA if that work visa is not allowed to them. So there are many small issues also in addition to the big issues, including flexibility in the curriculum, including multiple entry and exit, including, so many things, mutual recognition of qualifications, so many things, even visa regulations, FRRO, so many things are there which is preventing. Our visas are so difficult to get if somebody wants to come and study in India. That itself creates a lot of problem. So there are both administrative, academic, financial, all sorts of issues are there. So somebody has to sit tight and resolve all these issues. And the universities, if they are private universities, they can be building good hostels and all, but government universities, they don't even have money for making good international hostels. So they have to be funded, because just by making regulations, we cannot be promoting internationalization. Like recently, we increased the percentage of foreign students, which was earlier 15 to, I think, 20. Now, the number of foreign students total, we have around 4 crore students in our country, out of which foreign students are only 50,000, less than 50,000. So which is not even 1%. So if we don't even have 1%, then increasing 15 to 20 is meaningless. So we have to first create facilities so that more and more students are able to come here. They are attractive towards India. We have to do the brand building. We have to do the marketing. We have to create the infrastructure. Without that, just making regulations will not help. We have to create an enabling environment, an enabling ecosystem for foreign students to come to India.
Yeah, probably setting up an international students office is extremely important. And dissemination of information. You look at a student applying to any university, standard university in the US, and you go see the process that he goes through and the kind of information he gets. Our websites of the universities need a lot of improvement. They only display data that the university thinks should be there. In fact, it should come, there should be a pull mechanism, from the databases, the data must be pulled, and that transparency factor must come out. And it's only the trust that you build which will bring in people. It's not, like she said rightly, it's not regulations alone that will do the job. It's a lot more than that.
So we need to have compelling reasons to attract a student. I mean, somebody is deciding to relocate himself or herself. So those conditions needs to be created in terms of hostel, food facilities, grievance redressal, and
Yes.
social securities as well, and sufficient job opportunities which are at par to the country where he or she is coming from. So that part is missing here in India. So the industry needs to come forward. They need to be aligned with this, because every industry is having either some MNCs having offices in India, or Indian companies having offices in the other or respective countries. So such students can be used or utilized for the purpose of manpower. So coming to the new India policy, the India is emerging as a high-tech infrastructure, digital market, startup hubs are being created. So in what way these buzzwords or upcoming areas can compel international students to come to India?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there are several things that need to be done. I mean, it's not that the Indian universities don't do it. The best of the universities, they are all into providing the most contemporary education. If it is not part of the curriculum, they take great effort in subscribing to those third-party content providers, be it Coursera or edX or Udemy or whatever, to create those, the micro credentials and fractional credits and things like that. But having said that, there are a few technologies that are the most important today, and in fact, many universities are making a conscious effort to build in these technologies into their curriculum. But the only concern that I have is many of the core engineering programs are also being, tweaked to resemble like those, computer science courses. But that is a concern, because a good mechanical engineer is first a mechanical engineer, and then probably, of course, there are a lot of technologies that he too requires, and so on. But the domain expertise must be there. So coming back to those niche areas, probably AI, then the sub parts of AI like machine learning, your deep learning, and all that is important. Robotic process automation is something that's extremely important, because anything that you do today has to pass through robotic process automation. And one simple example is the KYC that we are really talking about. So it's a part of your RPA. And then there is blockchain, there is Internet of Things, there is cognitive computing, intelligent applications, 5G, virtual reality. And these are all new niche technologies which are required. Obviously, they all cannot become a part of any curriculum in a regular sense. In a curriculum, you need some prerequisites, you need some core, you need some electives, things like that. So you can't possibly put all the new technologies into a curriculum and say that this is my thing. So the basics have to be built, the core has to be given the weightage. Prerequisites are extremely important. And while designing the electives in a completely choice-based credit system, you introduce these additional technologies that are defining the markets today. Now, some of these technologies that I've described are discipline agnostic. In some way, you need to really bring in data analytics, business analytics, even into a mechanical engineering program, into a civil engineering program. But the difficulty with many of the universities is that the faculty there are still not trained enough to appreciate, or not, they don't cross that line in appreciating that the technology is changing, and therefore their curriculum needs to align with the changing conditions. They still stick to the old, curriculum and things like that. Some of that can be worked on job, some of it can be taught in the class, but the difference has to be looked at. And then as audit courses or as value-added courses, this new area, new niche areas must be factored into the curriculum over a period of time. And internships, yes, those internships will add value to these niche programs that we are talking about. Much of it can be done on a digital platform, in an online mode, but that said, you really need blended learning, because most of the technologies that I talked about are also hands-on skills required. So therefore, you need not only to add these niche programs, but you also need to connect them with the skills, skill centers and so on. For example,
May I add to that?
must be
Yeah, please.
connected with the
See,
because
when you were talking of NEP, I was reminded of something which happened more than 100 years ago. Actually, it happened. It happened with Einstein, that in 1905, he gave a question paper to his students. And when the teaching assistant saw the question paper, he came running back to Einstein and he said, "Sir, there's something wrong." He said, "What happened?" He said, "There's something terribly wrong, because the same question paper you gave to the same set of students last year also. How can you give the same question paper?" So the Einstein smiled. He said, "Questions are the same, but the answers are different." Why? Because in 1904, Einstein came out with that, we call it Annals of Physics Education, in which he came out with Brownian motion is equal to mc square, relativity, theory of relativity and all, which changed the very paradigm of physics education, and he wanted to see whether the students have read that or not. So the questions were the same, but the answers are different. Similarly, pre-NEP and post-NEP, questions are the same. What to teach, how to assess and evaluate the students, but the answers are totally different, because NEP has made that difference. Now we are talking of flipped classroom learning when we talk of teaching pedagogy. We are talking of using technology for teaching learning. We are talking of regular or say continuous assessment and evaluation, again using technology. We are talking of personalized learning using artificial intelligence. We could not think of otherwise, because in a class of say 80 to 100, we cannot think of having a personalized learning, but we are talking. And we are talking of online education, and this online education is adding a great dimension, especially to the number of international students. So there are many universities who are running online programs in which many international students are enrolling, sitting in their own countries. They are doing the courses of Indian countries, because the complete online programs are now allowed. And apart from that, the new concept of ABC, which is Academic Bank of Credit, in which you can keep on accumulating credits doing courses from various universities, which can eventually be redeemed into a degree. So these are some of the areas which have really changed post NEP, and which do have the potential of making India a Vishwaguru, or the affordable quality destination for education, which we were talking in the beginning. So NEP, of course, has a lot to offer, and I am sure that if NEP is implemented in letter and spirit, we will really become Vishwaguru one day.
probably
you.
just a little on the lighter side. If you actually look at there are certain universities where they made a sincere attempt to, create questions which look similar with the earlier years. And the students and the faculty, you really need a mindset. You need a change of, the way you think. And what happened? And the students went on, rampage, and they said the same paper came in, things like that, and even FIRs were filed on the faculty and so on. So this is on the lighter side, but then we need to, both the students, the faculty, the administrators, everyone, the society, we need to change the way we think and the way we probably do things.
So thank you, Dr. Mantha. In the beginning, you focused on the need of research, which is useful for society as well as industry. So far, research activities are taking place, but the connect of research with innovation is somewhere lagging. So how can we enhance that culture or how can we address this connecting research to innovation, so that subsequently patents and the possibility of startup, research leading to startup can be there.
Yeah, I would see there are no easy answers to this, but I'll give you an example of what happens in Germany, which is the probably the best source for innovation and the best of the products that come out and the way they do it, and it's very possible to replicate that model in India as well. There you have two societies. One is a Max Planck Society. The other one is a Fraunhofer Society. And both of them set up institutions, and their mandate is they can set up institutions anywhere in the world. Okay. Now, Max Planck University sets up institutions which do fundamental research, basic research, and they create postulations, they create methodologies and things like that. Now, Fraunhofer Society sets up institutions which use this fundamental research, and their job is to only produce products, create processes, new processes, and so on. In the process, there is a lot of innovation that is happening because they go from the drawing board to the product stage. And this happens by restructuring their university system. What happens is on a let's say 1,500-acre campus, there is a Fraunhofer institution sitting at the center, and all around there are research centers, extension arms of almost all the industries that you can think of in whichever discipline you want. And every product is a multidisciplinary product. It's not just mechanical or electrical or whatever. So therefore, they go to the system level, separate out the entire mechanism into separate units which follow different technologies, and around that technology they build the prototypes, and then that central institute brings all these prototypes together and creates the product that they're talking about. So their interest is not in publishing papers. That may happen as a consequence, but that's not the aim. Their interest is to produce products, create new processes, improve processes, and things like that. And in this process, what they do is they also have an extension arm which actually actively engages the society and gets their requirements, their needs, and that comes to the drawing board in order to create the new profiles. So that's how things work. So in this country as well, it's not necessary to set up new institutions and on that pattern. What we need to do is identify some of the best institutions in this country, identify them as the nodal Fraunhofer-like institution, and build the ecosystem around that. In this process, when you are building a certain product, you get to technologies which create several new products along the way. And they create a complete supply chain around the electrical subsystems, along the mechanical subsystems, and so on, along the computer subsystems, and so on. So that is how innovation grows, because now there is a need, and you are meeting the need through the system that you have developed. So that's something that can be easily replicated in India.
Thank you, Professor Mantha. I think this is the answer I have never heard from anyone, and this is a very core issue. And I think if any university adopts this mechanism, the problem can be addressed very easily. Coming to again to the same question, Professor Mantha, are you there? Okay, I'm moving to a question which is raised by an audience. The importance of Gurukul system and why Indian education needs it. Dr. Pankaj.
See, Gurukul system was where the Shishya and the Guru, they were in one-to-one touch with each other, and not only during the class, it was a residential school sort of a thing, where the student was in the companionship of the Guru throughout the day, and he used to learn not only by what Guru was teaching, but also what Guru was practicing. So the Guru used to act as a role model for the teacher. So in today's time, the teachers are not considered as a role model. Many times the students are feeling we are paying to the teacher, so they should be teaching us. So it is a sort of a give and take relationship, but it was not there in the Gurukul system. So that was something which again, we call it traditional knowledge system, in which the knowledge was imparted day by day, minute by minute, by actions, by in the class, by the character of the guru, the morality which was given, so everything. So I think Gurukul system was good, but how much it can be experienced today, because at that time the number of students was less, and the guru could take personal attention of each other, personal care of each other. But now, because the number of students are so large, we don't have those many gurus who will be taking a personal care of each and every student. But nevertheless, some gurukuls can be open, and we can be, and there are some already there. But I'm not very sure that whether we can practice it in today's time or not.
But the necessity and need cannot be denied.
Yes.
Right. Moving back to the previous question, Dr. Mantha, many innovations take place in rural areas that we call it as jugaad, or unscientific way of finding a solution. In what way we can bring these jugaads or solutions in a methodological innovation and getting patents, or making it a standard practice?
Probably what we need to relook at what is happening in the education space vis-a-vis the connect it has with the society. So we should probably have a district level center, which connects with the universities, with the institutions, and so on, and which actively engages anybody who has an idea, and talks to them, get their inputs, and whatever they are doing, however small or however big they are. There are a lot, like you said, there are a lot of jugaad kind of solutions that they create in almost every discipline, and they all go unnoticed because we have this some kind of syndrome where we think only the innovations have to happen through the elite society and things like that. So it's not true, but then the connect with the university system, maybe one of the institutions or maybe a few institutions in that district must be made responsible for this, to go and actively engage the society, look at what they are doing in each of the areas. If they have new ideas, new solutions and to a certain problem, then those must be documented. We seem there are two issues here. We have extremely good ideas, and the implementation part is a little sketchy, it's faulty, and the last mile is never taken care of. And the another problem is we don't document. So if you look at any of the Western innovation that you talk about, that the documentation is extremely well done. Stepwise, every single other step, however small it is documented. Now, right through the process. Now here, at the end, somebody tries to document the process that has happened over a period of time, and they miss out several important links in that. So this district level center must lay great emphasis on documenting what is what is happening. So that's the way to preserve the ideas, preserve the and bring out the innovative content within that idea. Not every idea may be worth exploring, but then that is where the University Connect will help from all the ideas that are coming in. So this exercise must happen on an active mode, So I mean that's what is required.
Thank you, Dr. Mantha. In China, they introduced one policy, return to home project opportunities. So there is a question by Jaspreet Pal Kaur. She has mentioned that how can we restore the faith of students who leave the country and wish to study abroad when we have the best teaching practices embedded in our system? Open to both the guests.
Yeah. Maybe Dr. Pankaj will speak first. I'll wait later.
See, many of our students are going abroad. So when they come back, see, for example, when this COVID happened. So during COVID, many students came in between. Means after completing 1 year or 2 years of their studies, they came back. But then counting of their credits in Indian universities and giving them admission in the third year or fourth year was a Herculean task. Very few universities were agreeing to it, and they were saying, we don't recognize these credits. How can we get admission in third year, especially in the professional programs? So if we really want to have our students back, we have to be very, very flexible, because many times this happens that our education system is a bit rigid system. We are not very flexible. We are not able to give admission in, say, literal entry. We are not able to give to students who come from the foreign countries. So if we want our students back, we have to be flexible. For example, these Ukraine students who came back from these MBBS courses, now they are finding it difficult. No universities are taking them in third year or fourth year. Then the issue of fee is also there. The curriculum difference is also there. So we are not very much friendly in terms of getting these students back and giving them admission in our own universities and letting them continue their studies. So we have to be flexible in that. We would like the way you are saying the China thing, we should be doing something like that in India too.
Sir.
Yeah, I mean, the students who go abroad, essentially for studies in the beginning, they have already looked at least 2 years of a life in the US. And if you make maybe it's my personal opinion, but then what happens is the quality of life is very different, and it's way above what we probably look at here. There are of course differences and things like that. But so 2 years of living there, many of them feel that the systems are much more open, the systems are much more transparent and things like that, and they tend to stay back. And the other reason why they stay back is also the money that they get, and the ease of employment that they have. At least the educated and the qualified and the skilled class, they manage to get a reasonably good job in maybe 3 months' time, maximum of a 6 months time, after they complete their studies. So therefore, these two reasons, they prevent these students from coming back. Now, having said that, it is very, I mean, our government today has opened up several areas, and a massive digital push is happening within the country. And a lot of digital transformation is happening within the universities, within the industries, and so on. Now, therefore, several projects are there which can be, logically sequenced and made available to students with a similar program as what China is doing, project at home kind of thing. But they, while doing that, they must assure a lot of, respect and, respect for the abilities and the skills that these people will get back, and also support them with adequate salary structures. So, but otherwise, there are ample opportunities in India. And you take any sector, you take healthcare, which is growing extremely fast. You take infrastructure, you take, any defense for that matter, agriculture. You have number of opportunities and number of projects that can be done with a digital, transformation in mind. So therefore, several projects are there. The Indian government is making a lot of effort in projecting them. What they should do is come out with a regulatory or with a system that will allow them to work on these projects at certain terms which are very well thought of.
Yeah, well explained, Dr. Mantha. There is important issue like UAE, Singapore. They are upcoming hubs for international education.
Yes.
in what way government as well as private players in India, big business houses or big institution, old institutions, they can participate in these countries and establish their institutions there to attract international students?
So the national education policy itself has indicated that the universities, Indian universities, can go abroad and set up their campuses. And there are many universities, for example, MET has, BITS has, many universities are having international campuses, and the students are studying in these campuses. So I feel that when the enabling regulations again are coming from UGC, that how to set up their campuses and what type of universities can go, because we cannot be saying that even a B or C grade university should go and set up their campuses abroad. So they should be highly rated by the NAC. They should be good universities. They should be having good infrastructure, the type of programs which they should be offering in the foreign countries. So the possibility of setting up campuses abroad is now increasing, and many universities are thinking of going abroad, as the foreign universities are also coming to India, and then there will be a lot of collaborations between Indian and foreign universities because they are right here on the Indian soil. So the collaborations will be more, and at the same time, Indian universities will be going abroad and setting up their campuses abroad. And at the same time, there are universities like, say, Jindal, which is having so many international faculty. So there are now universities which are appointing international faculty to attract national as well as international students. So things are happening at all levels, especially the private universities are taking a lot of lead. The government is taking a lead, which especially for the government universities, but private universities are making a lot of effort to attract foreign students. Most of the foreign students are in private universities only. There are some like Pune University having a lot of international students, but many of them, I think 70% of them would be in private universities.
Private universities. So government is enabling, helping them, pushing them to.
That is why I told you, the government has increased the supernumerary seats from 15% to 20%. But that doesn't help unless we create that type of an enabling environment in the university. Unless we market our education, unless we do the brand building of our universities. So only increasing the percentage of seats will not help, because right now only 0.1% are filled. So 15 to 20 doesn't mean anything unless that 15 itself is not complete.
Right. And having a campus at Dubai or Singapore, the fee in comparison to India as well as USA or UK, it lies somewhere in between. So affordable education tag is also addressed.
Yes.
Your take on this particular issue, Dr. Mantha?
I mean, the foreign campuses have been, institutions have been going abroad for at least a decade now. They see an opportunity to set up an institution mostly as a business proposition. So and most of the students are probably PIOs, people who are residing there and who have been transferred, Indians who have been transferred there, and so on. So we really need institutions which collaborate with, let's say an IIT collaborates with, let's say Georgia Tech, and sets up a campus in Dubai. Now, those kind of things must happen, and they should really look at imparting education that's of an equal standard as it is, as it is given in the other university, the foreign university. So unless they change the, it cannot, you probably cannot attract students in a foreign land by imparting education the way you do in this country. So therefore, you need to change a lot of the curriculum, the way you teach, the pedagogies that you use, and the faculty that you bring to those institutions, and so on. So they must have an international exposure. They must have their research citation index very, very high, because students check even that. A lot of information is available in the public domain, and they check that they are not satisfied with saying that the institution is 100 or 150 or whatever. They actually go to the faculty listing and find out about all the details of the faculty. what kind of research he does, what kind of connect he has, because every student looks at the employability factor subsequent to it. What kind of recommendation letters can this fellow give, and how useful it will be to me for furthering my career, whether in industry or again in a different institution. So it's very necessary to, it's not very simple to set up an institution in a foreign land by following the same thing as you do here. You need to change the entire paradigm if you really want to go there. And attracting students of caliber in a foreign land is not very simple. You need to create that value proposition for him or her, and that is how things happen. There are certain institutions in the private sector who are doing it today, and probably some case studies will need to be done with them in order to understand how they do it.
Thank you, Dr. Mantha. This is almost 6:20. I think we have covered all aspects, probable aspects of this topic, today's topic. In a case if any point is missed out, you are at liberty, both the guests are at liberty to address that particular issue.
I think you covered most of the things.
And it was wonderful session, and वक्त पता ही नहीं चला कब निकल गया.
It's a massive subject, and there are a lot of things to really talk about. And it's been a pleasure talking to you and Dr. Pankaj and Anandru. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. S.S. Mantha, for being with us and sharing such important points and words of wisdom. Similarly, Dr. Pankaj Mittal, for the finest nuances you addressed, the basic issues, the core issues. I think we have attempted to cover all the aspects which are related to the topic. And it was a wonderful session, interacting both the eminent panelists. And
thank you, Professor Puneet, for excellent moderation.
Thank you.
And Professor Mantha for being such a good speaker. Thank you.
With the request that soon we'll be having one more session on research, especially research innovation and in Indian context. So I'm sure the same cooperation will be extended by both the eminent panelists. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you all the audiences. You can download your e-certificates after filling the feedback form. This is all for today. Next month, we'll come again with a new topic. Till then, namaskar and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.